There we go. Okay. All right. Welcome to our FLT Connect event, Volunteer Opportunities on the Finger Lakes Trail. Michaela, while I'm doing this introduction, can you just watch the waiting room? Thank you. So you're going to be hearing tonight from myself, Christy Post, the Director of Marketing and Communication with the Finger Lakes Trail Conference, and Michaela Aney, who's the Director of Trail Development. I did see a number of people who've been to our ambassador training, so it's good to see you, be with you all again. This is going to be some repeat information, but also some more detailed information about our various volunteer opportunities. So I'm Christy Post. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications. I'm a trail runner and a hiker. I'm also a Leave No Trace Master Educator, and I've been working in nonprofit development, including like marketing, communications, special events and fundraising, volunteer recruitment and management for about 20 years. And so that's how I came into the FLTC. I started about 2 years ago, January 1st, 2020. And my position and Michaela's position were both created as the result of a long-term strategic planning process that the FLTC board engaged in beginning around 2018. And they created a strategic plan and a financial sustainability plan that included both my position and Michaela's. And the intent was to invest, for the organization to invest in itself, to invest in some paid folks who were doing this professionally and full-time. We are a volunteer-run organization. We're still a volunteer-run organization. The trail and the trail conference was built and is maintained by volunteers. But we're sort of transitioning now to where some of the more critical responsibilities need to be fulfilled by staff people. So that is both me and Michaela. So I'm going to let Michaela introduce herself.
Yeah, so I'm the Director of Trail Development. I'm a Leave No Trace trainer, which is the step below what Christy is. I'm also a wilderness first responder, which is a wilderness medicine certification. I'm a trail builder and skills instructor. I've been teaching trail skills for a few years now. And I've been doing trail work and working with communities built around being outside for over 5 years. Oh, and I guess Christy and I talked about this a little bit before. My background, how I got into trail work, is all based, I was an AmeriCorps member, which is kind of like domestic Peace Corps. It's one way to look at it. But I did 2 terms or 1.5 terms of service. So my foundation in my skills is rooted in service to my community, to my state, to my country. So that's how I got started, which really connects to my job because I work completely with volunteers. And I really appreciate what everyone does for the trail and the community surrounding the trail. So it's in the root of where I started. So it works really well for my career so far.
Okay, so this first slide just includes 4 pictures here, and these are 4 of the founders and early leaders of the Finger Lakes Trail Conference. They are, from left to right, Howard By, right here, Wally Wood, Ed Sidoti, and Irv Marker, along with the board of directors at the time. So these were some of the early founders. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of the FLT just briefly, but it really is important to emphasize over and over again that we are a volunteer created and driven organization. Volunteers are the backbone of what the FLT is and does. I mean, the long and short of it is the FLT couldn't exist without volunteers. So we are really excited to have you all here learning about the various volunteer opportunities that we have. And if you've already been involved, we thank you because we absolutely need you. This is just a quick shot of our organizational chart. You can see that the Finger Lakes Trail Conference is here, and we've got our members and landowners, and then beneath members is the Board of Managers. So the Board of Managers kind of reports back to our members. Our membership is at the base of everything that we do. And underneath the Board of Managers, we have committees, the executive director, and officers. And reporting to the executive director are the staff people, and that is Michaela and I. And then this is the trail system management chart down here. Some of these positions are kind of in flux right now. in addition to the addition of Michaela's and my position, some things are kind of shifting and changing right now as we grow into the next phase of our development. So some of these positions are currently vacant, but Michaela will talk a little bit more about some of that, which talks about the trail needs. But we wanted to include this even though it's kind of in flux, because it's important to see that, yet again, the trail system management is a lot of volunteers, all volunteers. So some history about the Finger Lakes Trail Conference and the Finger Lakes Trail. The first meeting of the Finger Lakes Trail Conference was at Cayuga College in 1962. We are celebrating our 60th anniversary this year. There's a number of ways that you can celebrate with us. One is to do the FLT 60, which is our free hiking challenge. You hike 60 miles anywhere on the FLT within this calendar year, and you get a lovely sticker and patch. Another is to be part of our county hike series, and registration for our group hikes just closed last week. But we are still accepting registrations for the independent series, and that means that we send you all the information that you need to hike all of Tompkins County, including hike plots, where to park, mapped out hikes for you, and we have sort of some communication tools for you so you can hike them on your own. And it's just over 60 miles in the county hike series, so you can check off both the county hike series and the FLT 60 with one activity. You could also plan to join us for our fall weekend festival, which is September 16th to 18th in Ithaca. It is the 16 to 18 is the weekend of the last hike for the county hike series. So the county hike series concludes at our 60th anniversary fall weekend celebration. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's in Ithaca. It's at the Gray Haven Motel. We're taking over the place. So you can get a room there or go to one close. It's really fun. It's going to be a great time. So a little bit about some of those early, sorry, I lost my notes here. Give me 1 second. Okay, Wally Wood, you saw a picture of Wally. Wally brought the idea of the Finger Lakes Trail. He dreamed it up. He was a long distance hiker living in Rochester, and he was just finishing up the long path or doing some hiking on the long path at Appalachian Trail when he dreamed up the idea of a similar long distance trail across New York State. So he brought the idea to the Genesee Valley Hiking Club, of which he was a member, and which is based here in Rochester. I'm in Rochester. And they agreed to form a committee to explore the idea. They engaged other hiking clubs across the state. And a year later, the first meeting was held at Cayuga College, forming the Finger Lakes Trail Conference and the Finger Lakes Trail. Wally Wood was the first president. The development of the main and branch trails, Michaela's going to give you an overview of the trail, but some of the branch trails actually either occurred at the same time or even preceded the development of the main trail. The first two trail sponsors of the FLT were the Cayuga Trails Club and Foothills Trails Club, or Hiking Club. They each accepted responsibility for about 70 miles. And then soon after that, Genesee Valley Hiking Club and ADK Onondaga were accepted as additional sponsors, and we've grown since then. In 1983, we signed an agreement with the National Park Service to host the North Country National Scenic Trail through New York. So we currently host about 430 miles from the western terminus at the New York, Pennsylvania border in Allegheny State Park up through the end of our Onondaga branch. And then the North Country National Scenic Trail continues on through the Adirondacks. So that's just a real quick history. And Michaela is going to give you an overview of the trail.
Yeah, so it's approximately 1,000 miles in total. We always say approximately because distances change as closures happen and roadwalks go on and offline. And 585-ish are on the main trail, and then the remaining total miles is on our branch trails, and we also have spurs and loops along the way as well. So options for all the hikers, all the different kinds. 50% of our trail is on private property. So our landowners are graciously letting us cross their property. Majority of those agreements are handshake only, which means that they can take it back whenever they would like, if they would like. And the other 50% is on public property. So county property or a state agency. We do have a couple of federal agreements. We do go through, we have the Interlochen branch, which is through the only national forest in New York State, which is the Finger Lakes National Forest. So we cross through there, and Our office is also near the Marcy Dam?
Mount Mora.
Mount Morris Dam. Okay. Well, anyways, that's embarrassing. So, and we are also we're also in Canacadia Park, which is another Army Corps of Engineers site. And there's the Almond Dam there. I knew that one. Anyway, so it's built and maintained entirely by volunteers, as Christy already said. And last year, for 2021, our volunteers donated more than 23,000 hours in the name of the trail, whether it's trail maintenance, general resource work, leading hikes, doing the administrative work, which is also super important. And so it mentions how many counties we cross, the state parks, including some of the most famous ones in the country. Watkins Glen and Letchworth battle it out for top contenders, I think, every year for top state parks in the country. And we also go through about 50-ish DEC-owned properties, give or take. All right, so because we have so much trail, there's a lot of opportunities to get boots on the ground. Our trail maintainers, the water's going to get a little muddy, and some of it's going to be clear as mud, but I'm going to do my best to explain it. Trail maintainers work with a sponsor, and we're building from the bottom up. So they work with a sponsor, and the sponsors are a trail club or a sponsoring organization, or it can be an individual sponsor, which is happens less frequently. Some groups call them stewards or adopters, and they assume responsibility generally for a smaller section of 1 to 2 miles in length of the trail. So this is our main trail as well as our branch trails. And their responsibilities, and these responsibilities carry over as we talk about other roles, but they have to visit their section at least 3 times a year. Some people go more, some people go above and beyond. And these visits can include, or they should include inspection, maintenance. So clearing vegetation, making sure the trail corridor is clear so you're not getting whacked in the face with branches or stuck with thorns. Repairing minor track erosion, working with the tread and drainage as needed, checking up on trail infrastructure, so register boxes, punch-ins, boardwalks, anything like that, checking in on the lean-tos. And there's always help available if any project is too large, and too large could be anything. It doesn't have to be a major project to get more help. All right, so the trail sponsors, which we already kind of mentioned, so this can be an individual or it can be a group. So we've had, and we're going to talk about some of the awesome groups that help along the trail. We have scout troops that help out as well. And then individual sponsors also do a lot. So they're responsible for all the same things that a trail maintainer is in terms of going out to their section at least 3 times a year. And we also ask that the trail sponsors, whether it's an individual or a group, keep track of their maintenance activities and their hours and their driving time and the administrative work, and log that and work with the regional trail coordinator, which we'll explain soon. Keep a track of all that and report it back to us at the end of the year. So that way I can say that amazing number of hours that folks put into the trail when we put on these presentations, as well as report them to our state agency partners, federal agency partners, and the North Country Trail Association.
Sorry.
It's okay. So to kind of give an example, so we have some regions that are completely overseen by these trail organizations or clubs. So the regions starting from west to east, Foothills Trail Club takes care of the first 4 maps up to the Conservation Branch Trail Junction that goes north towards Canada and where it connects to the Bruce Trail. So they oversee all of that. So they are the trail sponsor, and then all of the miles of trail that they oversee are taken care of by trail maintainers. Cayuga Trails Club is out of Ithaca. ADK Onondaga is in the central New York region. They take care of parts of M21 and M22 and all of the Onondaga branch, which carries the North Country Trail as it moves to the Adirondacks into Vermont. Bull Thistle Hiking Club is out of Norwich, and they are on M22 to M24 near Bowman Lake. And Triple Cities Hiking Club is out of Binghamton, and they are on M24 to M26. So they meet up with both Thistles in Bowman Lake, and they go to M26. The other areas, the other maps, because we have 34, are broken into other regions, which we'll talk a little bit more about, and they're overseen by regional trail coordinators and more individual sponsors. We do have sections on the trail that are taken care of by groups that sponsor. So on the Bristol Hills branch in particular, we have the Springwater Hiking Group, which is a group out of Springwater. And they go on a lot of group hikes of all sorts. They do kayaking trips, biking trips, hiking trips. Nice bunch. They send out emails every week of what they're doing. So they take care of a section of trail on the Bristol Hills branch. The Naples Central School takes care of a section. Genesee Valley Hiking Club, Penyan Outdoor Adventure Club, and then there's a bunch of individual sponsors. Those groups all take care of 3 to 4 miles of trail, whereas the groups listed for the regions take care of 30 or more miles of trail. And then just to talk about a little bit more in other areas like M9, M10, we have another 80K group that takes care of, I think, about 10 miles of trail. I might be wrong. And then we have a group of engineers from the DOT that takes care of sections on M8 and M9. And then we also have a business, which is Cargill, who has some folks from their Watkins Glen plant that takes care of a section on M14. So there's different ways to be a sponsor. And then there's individuals who are sponsors, and they can take care of a couple of miles up to 10 miles. So there's a big difference. But the big thing about sponsors is they're responsible for kind of supporting themselves, whereas trail maintainers have the support of a club. I hope that makes sense. Please ask in the chat if you don't. I point downwards like it's on my screen. So those are the examples of trail sponsors. So alongside that, I mentioned if folks need help, if there's projects that are outside their scope, we have a roving trail crew, which is a group of folks who are willing to travel across the state. Potentially, they don't have to, but if they generally are willing to. And this crew will go to any branch trail or main trail, and they'll help with any project that's too big. Generally go from March to October, which is the trail season when it's nice out. Yeah, and they can do anything, help with regular maintenance that's been delayed or backlogged, especially on sections that might have been neglected for a while. They'll help with reroutes. They're an additional workforce. If someone's putting on a work day and needs just a little bit more human power. And then they can also be added to work days. So they're a great additional crew to have.
Michaela, we get one comment in the chat about trail sponsors, and when you said trail maintainers had the support of a sponsoring club, the question is, do you mean financial support? So I thought you could just clarify what kind of support a sponsoring club or individual provides to their trail maintainers.
Sure, yes. So yeah, that support from the sponsor it can be financial. They provide tools usually, extra resources, extra people. A lot of these sponsoring clubs, sorry, my chat's up and down right now. A lot of the sponsoring clubs are able to put on their own work days from folks within their group. So they can kind of handle without asking for outside help. So in a way it is financial. And then the other ways the sponsor will also help with those recording functions. So trail maintainers aren't asked to individually report their hours and activities. They report into their sponsor, and the sponsor reports it in, depending on how it's set up. So yeah, trail maintainers need to provide. It depends. So the question is, do trail maintainers need to provide their own tools? Trail sponsors typically do. They don't have to. We do have we have a tool cache, and we can loan tools out to people. And our tools are currently located in Mount Morris, and we do have some elsewhere. along the trail, but the trail sponsoring groups like Foothills, Cayuga Trails Club, ADK Onondaga, they have their own tool cache. So the folks who maintain with those clubs have access to that. Folks who are individual sponsors, a lot of them do buy their own tools. They buy their own loppers, they buy their own saws. They become very particular to certain kinds of tools. Any of the heavier digging tools and stuff like that, we can provide, and some people have bought their own. But it's not a requirement that you have to go out and buy the tools. If you want to help, we'll help you help us. Thank you for asking. Hope that makes sense.
And so if you were interested in becoming a trail maintainer, sort of the best thing to do is we look at which area you would want to be maintaining trail, and Michaela looks at the area you want to maintain trail in, and then tells you exactly what the situation is there, whether there's a sponsoring club and who it is and what kind of support they offer. So again, it kind of varies depending where you are on the trail, what the exact situation is. These are just sort of this is just general information about what trail maintainers and sponsors do.
Yes.
Okay. Are we done with Roving Trail Crew? Sorry.
Yes, we're all set with Roving Trail Crew. So very similar to Roving Trail Crew, we put on local work crews or trail work days. Some of these are put on by those sponsoring clubs that we've talked about, where they want to bring in people from outside their club. Sometimes they ask for additional help, and that's where we might send in the Roving Trail Crew, or we might ask for more people outside of that even. They're usually one day or part of a day, and it might be installing bridges, like they are in these pictures. This is on the conservation branch. They could be repairing trail tread, erosion issues, down trees, excuse me. So it's just another, and so if there's some folks who only want to volunteer regionally, and so they ask to be notified if there's anything in their region. And so what we do is we try to send out information as we find out about work days or as we put them on, and that way people can look and say, that's in my area, I want to go. So that's kind of what these are. That is what they are. All right, so the regional trail coordinators, in my opinion, are kind of like a backbone in a lot of ways for the trail. They oversee a region of maps. So we have the 34 maps on the trail, plus all of our branch trails have maps. And so those maps are all put into regions, and I'm not going to say what each region is because I can't remember all of the names. But they go across the trail. So we have far west. I do remember far west. The branch trails are generally their own regions, and then they continues across into the Catskills, and even the Catskills is broken up into 3 regions: east, or west, central, and east. So there's a person who oversees each of those groups of maps. And so the regional trail coordinators oversee the sponsors on those maps. So some of the sponsoring clubs, so Foothills, Cayuga Trails Club, ADK Onondaga, Both Thistles, Triple Cities, they put up a RTC, which in their club is their trails chair, because they are the sponsoring for such a large grouping of maps. And in other areas, it is the regional trail coordinator generally working with individual sponsors, or I mentioned some of those other groups that oversee a section of trail, 3 to 4 to 10 miles, kind of. So in the pictures here, the gentleman all the way to the left who's taking the selfie with the punch-in, that's Bill Meehan. In his section, he's the RTC, and he's around Watkins Glen. He generally has mostly individual sponsors, and he also has the Cargill group. I don't think he has any other groups that are sponsoring with him. So it's mostly individuals that work with him. And he is available to help them as they need. So if they need help with landowners, if they need help with any problems on the trail, he's the guy that they talk to. Actually, all the RTCs in this mostly work with individual sponsors in their regions, just because of the regions they oversee. So the bridge picture, the woman in the purple all the way to the right is Donna Nowhere, and she is the regional trail coordinator for the Bristol Hills branch. and she's wonderful and so kind. And she knows everyone in that area, all the landowners, it seems. And then the gentleman in the top picture to the left in the orange hat, Peter Wybron, who is also a board member and our quartermaster. So he oversees all of our tools and trailers and all of that, which is just incredible. He oversees, near Hornell, he oversees quite a few maps. And he works mostly with individual sponsors as well, in a few groups that he has in his section. And this is actually from a work day this past Saturday where we reset culverts so we can improve the drainage on the trail. So the regional trail coordinators do a lot. They fill in if there's gaps, they recruit new people, they help new people out, walk them through trail section. So they work with trail sponsors, trail maintainers, and they also can they can request the roving trail crew, or they can be a part of work days, set those up as well. They can also put together alley cat projects, which I'll bring up because we're going to talk about those too. So they can request those, and they can also help secure the services of a certified sawyer, which we will also talk about. So they do a lot. They also help with the reporting aspect. If any of their sponsors or maintainers require that, depending on what they're a part of in the grand scheme of things. Yeah, and we ask them for a lot, and they also have to respond to trail reports when those come in as well. They do a lot. All right, certified sawyers. So trees come down. We have a lot of storms. Last year, the central region, I don't know how many, but we seem to have trees go down every week. I got a lot of trail reports saying that we had blowdowns. So those have to get cleared. So we put on 2 chainsaw classes a year. We use the game of logging training. If you're at all familiar with chainsaws and training, there's a couple different schools out there, not schools, but different kinds of trainings. There's more federally aligned trainings and various others. But game of logging is a really great chainsaw program. We work with Bill Lindloff, and he puts on level 1 and level 2 training for us. So it's a 2-day training. We've been doing it near Hammondsport for several years now. The sawyers generally take down trees. They don't do a lot of standing trees. We do provide that training. Sawyers provide their own saws. We don't provide saws. We can help provide PPE though, personal protective equipment if needed. The folks who volunteer to become sawyers give a lot because it requires this training that needs to be recertified. It requires holding a first aid certification as well as CPR AED, and they also have to have bloodborne pathogen awareness. So they have to have all the certifications. They have to have the PPE necessary, which is chaps, boots, hard hat, safety glasses, some kind of ear pro because chainsaws are loud. So it's a lot. It takes a lot. And then you have to put fuel in the chainsaw and bar oil and sharpen your chain. And it's a lot. I love it. I love talking about chainsaws. And the training is awesome. Whether you take it with us, there's other opportunities throughout the state to take game of logging. Through Bill Lindloff, he works with, I think Bassett Health Network puts on chainsaw trainings throughout the state. And there's a couple of other organizations that sponsor these trainings. Some do cost money, some are free depending who's sponsoring them. And there's another organization out of Vermont, which is Northeast Woodland Training, who also puts them on, and they do come into New York from time to time. It's an excellent training. If you use chainsaws even on your own property, highly recommend taking this training. It's so safe, and it makes it way more efficient to use a saw. So our sawyers go through this training. Like I said, it's 2 days. They fell a tree. They learn how to maintain the saw. They learn how to buck and limb. Bucking is where you cut up the tree. Limbing is where you take the limbs off. They learn how to do all these things and how to do it safely and how to be able to walk away at the end of the day and go home, which is always the key in all of our positions. So I mentioned before, the certification is valid for 3 years, and at that time, you can recertify if you choose to. And so you agree to work clearing projects. The RTCs get the list or have access to a list of sawyers, so they can call you. Generally, we try to have people work within the region they're closest to because that makes the most sense. But in the event that we have a large weather event, we have a lot of trees go down, we may request sawyers from outside of the region. And that's one of the things that we mentioned because we do sponsor the training. It's one of the things we ask of our sawyers is to have that mobility, if they can, go to other regions. And we do have some sawyers who have gone from the Norwich area out to Western New York to help when they've had large weather events. So sawyers do a lot too. All right. So now we have our alley cat crews. These are our major construction projects. So think bridges, lean-tos, major reroutes, major building, big change, or where we need long-term work done. We've recently, I think more in the last few years, started doing more tread and drainage work on pieces of trail where the tread and drainage has kind of been neglected or needs hardening or rerouting or needs more work done. The alley cats are great for that because they're a longer stretch. They can be only a few days or up to a week long. We usually provide some kind of lodging and at least 2 meals, if not 3 meals, plus snacks, because snacks are important. Those are done, they're put together by our crews and construction coordinator, and they're done in assistance and local coordination of either the trail sponsoring organization. So, Foothills can request an alley cat project or one of those groups, or the RTC can request it, or maybe an individual sponsor has pointed it out, and between them, the RTC and everyone else, they help put together an alley cat. So it takes a village to make a lot of these projects come to fruition. They do take a lot of planning, especially because they do include lodging and food. And they're called alley cats because the trail goes from Allegheny to the Catskills, so alley cat. But they also happen on the branch trails too, because we can't forget those. They're also very important. And these are all actually pictures from past alley cats. The one on the left is from the Letchworth alley cat last year. That one we did a lot of tread and drainage work. Those folks are actually standing on raised trail tread. We took some rocks and set them to retain soil. And then we brought soil in from off the trail that we dug a pit to gather. And we brought it over with not buckets because we didn't have buckets. We used raincoats and whatever else we could find. Yeah, it was ridiculous. To fill in that section that they're standing on. And then we put drainage off to the side. So water was no longer running straight down the trail. And then the other 2 pictures are timber frame lean-tos. And I bring that up because we're going to talk about that a little bit later with one of the projects that we have coming up this year. So these are designed by Rob Hughes, who's another volunteer. And they're heavy duty lean-tos because of the way they're built, because of the timber frame design. So these are folks, I think this happened in 2020. They were still able to put on alley cat projects during the pandemic, which is awesome. And they built beautiful lean-tos. All right, so we do have current needs on the trail if you're interested. We have our 2 alley cats on the schedule this year. There's the Letchworth alley cat, which is June 19th to June 25th, with the 19th and 25th being travel days. And so the work will happen on the 20th and 24th. We do have some folks that are more local to the area who come out just for the work days themselves. This is also in conjunction with the American Hiking Society for one of their volunteer vacations. We will be continuing doing tread and drainage work along the Letchworth Branch Trail. The other one is Rattlesnake Hill Lean-To, which is going to be, I believe, on M8. It is on county property, Steuben County, I think. And that's going to be August 21st through the 24th-ish. And the lodging for that's going to be at the Swain Hill Ski Resort. And they're going to be building one of those lovely timber frame lean-tos. And we might have one more in October. That's to be decided, and that's something that we would announce at a later date. We are looking for crew leaders and project leaders to help with these projects. There's no specific training set for this right now. it's something that you feel you're interested in, if you've done trail maintenance or trail work of any kind and you're interested in taking more of a leadership role, or you know somebody who's done any kind of construction and is interested in trail work, these are the folks who kind of oversee the construction as the project goes on. And they also help set up the project and make sure we have permitting, materials, permissions, and things like that. So if that's something you might be interested, please reach out. Like I said, there's nothing set in stone yet, but would love to get people who are interested, excuse me, and start working with them to maybe develop a training program in the future and start putting more people in those roles. And so something else we're also interested in getting started is a landowner relations assistant. This is someone who would work with RTCs to determine which landowners might be good candidates for easements. And that's something we can give more information on if that's something you're interested in. This is a volunteer role that our Vice President of Trail Preservation is interested in seeing happen, especially in regions where we don't have a group that has a landowner committee or some kind. Adirondack Onondaga does an amazing job with their landowner relations committee, who does a great job of outreach. So that is another volunteer position. I'm not going to go through all of these, but we do have some clubs that are looking for. So if you're in the Ithaca area, you can either just join the Cayugas Trail Club for hiking and trail fun. They are going to be looking for maintainers along six different sections. Triple Cities Hiking Club, if you're interested in doing work on M24 to M26, or interested in hiking with folks in the greater Binghamton area, that's a great group to join. There's also individual needs on the Bristol Hills branch. She needs one sponsor or possible co-sponsor. It's a section that's been neglected for a couple of years now. Central New York, this is Cortland County area, needs a couple of different sponsors, and these sections can be broken down further if it's too much for one person. We can break it down and get more people. And then the last one where we need individual help is a DR mower operator. DR mowers are mowers, they're pretty heavy duty. They can go over more rugged terrain. We use those in areas where it's open and grassy. Our regional trail coordinator is looking for someone who can pick up the mower. They need to be able to tow a small utility trailer from Canacadia Park. And there's about 10 locations that he needs mowed 3 to 4 times a year. And the person who does this can choose to do it however they would like. So this is around the Hornell area. So it can either be one long day or multiple days, but it's whoever does it, it's on however they see fit. We'll send out this information as well. So if any of these, any interest, can always reach out and we can set you up with the regional trail coordinator or the folks that are in charge of these roles. Bye-bye.
All right, so Michaela covered opportunities on the trail, and I'm covering some of the opportunities off the trail, even though the ambassador program kind of straddles the two. So we launched, and a number of you are ambassadors and got through the training. We launched a new FLT ambassador program this year. Ambassadors are asked to represent and promote the FLTC on the trail at special events and in the community, to educate trail users about responsible trail use, landowner relations, and FLTC resources, model good trail etiquette, leave no trace principles, and a welcoming environment on the Finger Lakes Trail, and to report back to the FLTC staff about your interactions on the trail. So it's basically you're ambassadoring. You're out there being the face of the FLT to people, and this can happen in any number of ways. You know, we're going to have some ambassadors that maybe they are ambassadoring while they're hiking. So we've given them some tools, some resources, some education about, you know, what are some of the important points and what are some available resources from the FLTC. Ambassadors might set up a table at a popular trailhead. We'll be asking our ambassadors to come and join us at tables we have at events, whether those are community events, festivals, trail races, things like that. And we're envisioning that our ambassadors will sort of step into some higher level positions down the road, that maybe they'll become committee members or even board members, or they might step into trail maintenance. So there's a lot of opportunities, but ambassador the FLT has had ambassadors since the trail started because it's volunteers. But as we're growing, it kind of becomes harder for people to step into those roles and to know where to begin. And we wanted to provide some sort of structure to it. So we had, easy communications and give people a title really, and some things that they can identify themselves as ambassadors on the trail. So our ambassadors will be given bandanas and things like that they can wear out. We're going to arm them with stickers to hand out, brochures, different things like that. To become an ambassador, people have to attend 2 trainings. The first is an introduction to the Finger Lakes Trail Conference, and the second is Leave No Trace on the Finger Lakes Trail. Through these, you'll become familiar with FLT resources and develop your own trail pitch, the things that you want, like your elevator pitch, but your trail pitch, the things that you can easily draw up to share with people that you meet on the trail or out in the community. We ask that ambassadors spend at least 12 hours on the trail or at FLT events throughout the year, and become an active part of the FLTC community. We just wrapped up our first ambassador training a couple of weeks ago and have now graduated our class of 2022 FLT ambassadors. We are only going to offer this training probably once a year. We had a larger than expected response to our first training. Michaela and I joked when we were setting it up that we'd be happy to have like 12 people, and we had 58 in our first training, and we actually ended up with 50 people, I think, that completed both trainings and did all the necessary paperwork afterwards. So if you are not part of the ambassador program but are interested in becoming a part, we will be sharing information as we kind of move closer to 2023 about the training dates for that. Okay, other opportunities off the trail are largely doing some stuff with me. So we have a communications committee, and I'm going to be perfectly honest and say that the communications committee has not met as often as they need to. We're still building it because it was kind of a new thing. So the communications committee will be helping to create and implement our content calendar across all of our communication outlets. So FLT News, Footnotes, which is our e-newsletter, which goes to about 10,000 people every month. That is the size of our entire mailing list. Social media and our website. We're doing a couple larger projects in the next few years, redesigning FLT News and our website. And so the communications committee will be very much involved with that. And we'll probably have some smaller subcommittees within that, like an editorial committee for FLT News for people who are actively coming up with story ideas, identifying people to write various articles, and helping us to fit all this into a content calendar. Our communications department is me, and we have a lot of communications that we're sending out. And so I really need help with folks who are interested in writing, interested in so if you're really interested in social media, any of these things, to be part of the communications committee. Once we're sort of up and running, we'll probably be meeting about once a month. And again, everybody can have like sort of areas of specialization, right? Like if you're interested in FLT News, but not so much in social media, that's fine. But any aspect of our communications, we're looking for members of the communications committee. The other committee is our events and outreach committee. So this group manages and assists with planning and logistics for all of our events and activities throughout the year. And those are things like our Trails Day celebration, the County Hike Series, our Trails Day celebration, Fall Weekend, and the FLT 60 program, which is our, it's a year-round event, but it is an event year-round. FLT Connect, so this series of online presentations and workshops, and supporting outreach activities. So our events committee is another group like the ambassadors that we'll look to say, hey, we've got a table at this event. Can you please come and represent the FLTC at this event? And identifying prospects for various partnerships and engaging with other trail user groups in the area. So the committee is the group that's sort of responsible for really planning the events. we meet monthly, which we're still kind of a small committee. But then we also will need, and I'll talk about this in a minute, volunteers at those specific events, that if you don't want to be part of a committee that's actually responsible for planning these things, but you want to be part of the event volunteering, we have opportunity for that as well. So our current needs off the trail, and this is off the trail because it was on the trail and off the trail, but our first current need off the trail is on the trail. And that is for hike leaders, sweeps, and other hike support people. We've been calling them hiking ambassadors. We didn't want to confuse that with our ambassador program, but for each hike that we offer, whether it's through the county hike series or any of our free hiking group events, and we have a number of them, we like to have a leader who's plans and organizes the whole thing, a sweep who makes sure that nobody falls behind on the hike, and sort of a person who floats in there, making sure that everybody's engaged and doing okay, because the leader's focused on the lead and they're up with those people who are moving fast, and the sweep is focused on the back and making sure that everybody is okay and not getting left behind. But we want to make sure that in the middle of the hiking group, there's also everybody's doing okay and engaged and supported. So we have a number of free hiking programs. They're all right now under on our website on the page for Explore the FLT. So we have a Hiking 101 series that's coordinated by Deb Nero, who is here with us tonight. And I can't see anybody, so hi, Deb. Deb's the executive director of the Finger Lakes Trail Conference. She's also the County Hike Series coordinator this year. So she's involved with a lot of our hiking programs. She coordinates the whole Hiking 101 series. So I know that we're looking for, I think, one hike leader for one of the hikes early on in the Hiking 101 series, and she may still need some sweeps and other things for the County Hike series. We also have a series of hike and happy hour events that we do with Steuben Brewing Company in Hammondsport. So we have a hike a month in Hammondsport, which we need leaders, sweeps, and ambassadors for. We are now partnering with Recovery Fitness in Rochester, and they're going to be doing a number of hikes across the FLT. So again, we need leaders, sweeps, ambassadors. So there's a lot of opportunity for that. We also will need volunteers at our Trails Day celebration on Saturday, June 4th. This is an event that was started a couple of years ago in partnership with the Steuben County Visitors Bureau. And it was held the first year at the Steuben County Fairgrounds. We're holding it now at Steuben Brewing Company, with whom we have a partnership. So in this year, we're adding some things to it. So it has been, hikes and some presentations and some workshops. This year, we're adding a trail work component. So Michaela is organizing a trail work day as part of Trails Day. We'll also have a bunch of hikes and bike rides scheduled in that area in the morning, and then gathering back at the brewery in the afternoon, where we'll have vendors and tables. So we need volunteers for various parts of that, whether it's being part of the hikes, maybe helping us with registration, even helping with the planning of it if you want to be on the events committee. There's a lot of opportunity to get involved with that. And the same thing for the Fall Weekend Festival. We need a lot of hike leader volunteers for that one, because many of our hike leaders will be tied up that day. It's the last day of the County Hike Series for this year. And so we're offering that hike. But then for anyone who's not part of the County Hike Series, but coming to Fall Weekend, we also have other hikes on Saturday. So we need some hike leaders for those and some sweeps. We need people to help with any number of things as part of the Fall Weekend Festival, whether it's check-in, manning tables, event setup, a lot of stuff. It's a really big weekend festival. So we have a gathering Friday night that includes dinner and probably bonfire, and then dinner, and there's a whole program on Saturday. So there's a lot of stuff going on with that. So if you're interested in one-time event volunteering, please let us know if you're interested in Fall Weekend. We're also looking for an end-to-end coordinator apprentice. So this is sort of a more long-term role. Our end-to-end coordinator, Jackie Wensich, took over the job from Ed Sidoti, and she worked with him for a number of years, learning how he did what he did to support end-to-end hikers and to recognize end-to-end hikers. And Jackie is still occupying the position, but we're trying to sort of develop an exit strategy for her, I guess, that she knows that it's going to take a while for somebody to learn this job. And so she's very interested in helping that person get up to speed. So we're looking for somebody that can step in and help Jackie and take over some of the work from her and learn how it all operates, hopefully to become our end-to-end coordinator someday. We're also looking for a volunteer coordinator, as we are actively recruiting more volunteers and ambassadors and trail maintainers and everything. Michaela and I right now are kind of managing inquiries from prospective volunteers and communicating all that. And if any of you have inquired to us about volunteering, you've probably got a message from one of us that says something like, sorry for the long delay in responding to you. And that's because there's often a long delay in us responding to people. So we're looking for somebody, and this is very much a learn on the job kind of opportunity, because we are building our sort of structured volunteer program. We're a volunteer organization, but everything's been sort of scattered among, if you're interested in trail maintaining, your email gets sent to that trail maintainer, and then nobody ever really follows up with that or to let you know about other opportunities. So we're looking for somebody that can help us with coordination and communication to our many volunteers, and with some volunteer recognition activities. It is so important for us to be thanking volunteers all the time, because volunteers they're it. We need them. And we do appreciate them so much. So if you're maybe interested in that again is a more long-term job, and there would be some, on the job training, learning, figuring out with Michaela and I. And that's all I've got for off the trail opportunities. Here's our staff contacts. You could always reach Michaela and I together at volunteer@fingerlakestrail.org, but here are our email addresses as well. And I think we're really good. Well, we've got a couple minutes. So I would invite everybody to, if you have questions, go ahead and unmute yourself or raise your hand or type them into the chat. I see somebody's interested in hearing about being a trail angel. If you are interested in being a trail angel, that's an opportunity we didn't talk about here. That's somebody who lives on or near the trail and is willing to help shuttle people when they're doing maybe point-to-point hikes. So you might meet them at their end point for the day and shuttle them back to their start point that morning so they can then hike to their car at the end of the day. Anyone interested in being a trail angel, that whole group of people is managed by Jackie Wensich, who is the end-to-end coordinator, and her contact information is on our website. Or you can email Michaela or email the volunteer at fingerlakestrail.org, email address, and we'll forward it on to Jackie. Are there any other questions? Oh, Rob, okay, so we have a question. Did you see? Oh, this is directly to me. Robin, I will respond to you. But well, the question, Michaela, the question is, she's emailed a couple times about becoming a volunteer and didn't get a reply.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We apologize for that. She was the maintainer on map 14. She's asking if she should contact Cargill. I would say contact us. We'll put you in touch with them.
I'll reach out to you, Robin, and we'll talk when we can talk.
There we go.
Yeah, because I think Bill Meehan might have other needs. I'm not entirely sure, but I'll check in with you. I'm sorry that we didn't get back to you.
Yes, sorry.
And I will follow up with you, and we will get that taken care of and get you out on the trail. Thank you.
All right, and Hillary, thank you. She wants to volunteer for all the things. Well, we want you to volunteer for all the things. Cassandra, what is the best site to look up trail maintenance opportunities when you just want to join a group for the day? We are going to, I think, Michaela, I don't know if you want to answer this. For those trail work days, what's the best way for people to learn about those?
Yeah, so we're trying to put them out as we find out about them. Try to put them on the calendar, putting them in footnotes as we find out, and that goes out to a lot of folks. One of the best ways right now is to let us know that you're interested in joining those one-day work days. And it is my goal to send out a notice to people who have reached out and have gone on our email list about potential trail opportunities to get those little things about saying events and other work days that we have coming up. That's the goal. Trying to streamline a little bit more. As Christy said, a lot of times for so long, because it's been so many volunteers who have been graciously doing this, everything was so very spread out and a little isolated. And now that there's some staff and we're able to centralize communications, we're working on that process of how we spread the good word. But we also have to get the good word into us so we can spread it, if that makes sense. So if you send an email to the volunteer email, promise I will get back to you.
Yes.
And I will put you on that list so we can start getting emails out to folks about things that are coming up, because we do have a couple of work days coming up over the course of the summer.
I like this question about could there be a hike and ice cream event for youth members and hikers? And actually, I'd say yes. We just have to figure out who to partner with to make that happen. If you're interested in helping with that, definitely send me a note. We had a former board member who was compiling a list like last year, I think, of all the ice cream shops on or near the trail because she is very interested in ice cream. So I think that that's common, and we do have kind of a list to start.
Can you show the contact info, Christy?
Oh, sorry. All right. All right, so thank you to everyone for coming. If you do have follow-up questions or something you want more information about, please send an email to the volunteer@fingerlakestrail.org email address. We will get back to you. And if you're not signed up to receive footnotes, you will be after attending this workshop. So footnotes is another good place where you're going to be hearing more information about various volunteer opportunities and needs. And so I think that's all we've got.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.